Susekat Dompat Podanarang Kumusa Mai Mogachon Namaskar. Frankie Fernandez, Melbourne, Australia son तुमकां गोंयच्यो खबरो कोंकणींतल्यान पावयता. आज ऑगस्टाची 15 तारीख. हॅपी इंडिपेंडन्स डे टू ऑल आवर व्ह्युअर्स. सुरवातेक खबर. पुराय भारतांत गेल्ल्या सुमारांत बीजेपी सरकाराच्या द फॉरेन कॉन्ट्रिब्युशन रेग्युलेशन अमेंडमेंट बिल 2010 हाचे बाबतींत विरोध चालू आसा. हें बिल गेल्ल्या सुमारांत लोकसभेंत विरोधी पक्षान तोखणाय केल्या उपरांत एक 31 मेंबरांची जॉयंट पार्लमेंटरी कमिटी हाच्या मुखार भासाभास करपाक दवरला. माणकुल्या गोंयांत हें FCRA 2010 हाचे कसो असर पडटलो आमी विचारलें आल्दोना गांवचो काँग्रेस पक्षाचो आमदार ॲडव्होकेट कार्लोस आल्वारेस फेरेरा हाचे लागीं.
The FCRA Amendment Bill 2026 in the news again. This bill was introduced in Parliament on 25th March 2026, and there was a lot of opposition when this bill was being introduced, and there were opposition members who all rallied to seek to oppose it. Civil society members, various institutions, organizations and religious bodies also opposed this amendment, and this bill was shelved. I would use the word temporarily shelved at that time. Definitely one would be because of the opposition which was launched against this bill, but also on 9th of April 2026 was the Kerala Assembly elections. So probably it was a political move not to have this bill brought and passed, fearing it may impact Kerala elections. It's another matter that they got a drubbing over there. Now the bill is sought to be brought again in Parliament in this session. First is section 14B which they want to introduce, which talks about when a certificate ceases to exist, a certificate of registration, when it ceases to exist. The first clause speaks when the person has not applied for registration renewal and therefore it ceases. Yes, that's his own fault or his own act of not applying. Second is when applied and rejected, that is when the government rejects it, central government rejects. Third is when an application is made but not decided by the central government. The section says it ceases to exist. Now this is so funny because the application, when it is made by an applicant, the applicant doesn't decide or doesn't grant the renewal. The renewal is in the hands of the central government. So if the central government delays it for any reason, does not consider and sits over that file or that application, that will remain pending. By fiction of law, it will cease to exist. Now, what is the danger of that? Subsection 2 there says that if anybody whose certificate has ceased to exist, now these are the words, no foreign contribution or use of foreign contribution will be permitted if the certificate has ceased to exist. That means even if you have made your application and not been granted, you cannot receive foreign contribution nor use foreign contribution already received by you. Then there is section 16A which provides vesting of property. Now in all these cases which you have seen under 14B which I had mentioned, property vests with the central government. In your case, if it has not been renewed, it will provisionally vest with the central government. That means you are frozen, you are out, you are thrown out of the door for no fault of yours. And this property which vests in the central government is not simply the property which you have created or acquired out of foreign contribution alone. Subsection 2 says, whether created or acquired partly from foreign contribution and partly from other sources. Think of a situation like this. I'll put it very simply. You have a hospital, you're building a hospital. So you and your friends get together and decide we'll build a hospital. So a lot of people, out of your goodwill, you manage to get in some funds, you raise funds from the market, you go in for loans, you get loan, everything. You build your hospital starts functioning, then you feel you need more equipment, you need more specialist equipment, and you want to engage some super specialists. but you need some equipment which is costing much more. At that time, you find someone who is willingly ready to give you, probably as a donation from overseas. There may be our own local people who may give contributions, like they give contributions to churches, to religious educational institutions. They give that out of love and affection. But then tomorrow, when this contribution comes and partly used in this project, whichever it may be, this law says whether it is partly from here or partly from any other source, that property will stand vested with the central government, which means it will be thrown out. So therefore, that is the danger which is clear and can be read. The next thing is section 39, which is sought to be introduced, is people who have long ceased to exist with that institution or that entity, who have resigned, retired, probably some may be even in the very old age, they can be brought in for prosecution for some lapse of a negligence which they must have done. You know, negligence per se is not an offence. Only it has to be statutorily prescribed. And you know that 304A, which is that rash and negligent death caused by rash and negligent act, like in the BNS Act also it is there, and section 92 of the Factories Act. When due to negligence somebody dies, those are very exceptional cases. That you have to prove also rash and negligence, that's another part. But here, if you were negligent because someone put up a file and you signed it, you did not scrutinize every column very carefully, you can now be fixed. But the funniest part is section 43, where prosecution can be done only after prior approval of the central government, which means the central government can pick and choose whom to prosecute and whom not to prosecute, which means their favorites will be left out, they will be forgiven, and they will be say, Baba puta tu bare sagle kor, ami tumuchi bangda asa. This will be the central government approach. And as far as the others are concerned, they won't simply be prosecuted, they will be persecuted. Now, whom does it affect? This law. It affects churches, religious institutions, religious bodies, hospitals, NGOs, missionaries, like missionaries of Mother Teresa and all who get foreign funding. There are many other social organizations which also get some assistance. Some now they may not get big assistance, but they get some foreign funding. And many other, even startups which are there, which the young people are now wanting collaboration, or sometimes investors come from abroad, they will also be there. And therefore, even the news channels you will see, there are news channels which come from abroad, there are news channels like BBC registered in India which will definitely get foreign funding. So everybody will be under this bracket, and what will happen? You don't toe the line of the government, you will be fixed. It is like saying, if you are against Hitler, you are against Germany. So if you are against Modi, you are against India. People must realize that Modi is not India and India is not Modi. But this is the narrative sought to be sold to the people. And if you remember the Gen Z protest which was happening in Jantar Mantar, because they were attacking the central government and the union minister, all these youngsters, the innocent youngsters, were being dubbed as anti-nationals. Some were being called Pakistanis, some were being called Bangladeshis, some were being called Chinese, I don't know what more. So this will be the route by which the central government will start invoking these powers before elections, choking people, choking dissent, choking opposition, and this will be the blackest day in democracy of India. This is nothing but an emergency by the back door. God save our Mother India.
गेल्ल्या सुमनांत किरीतपणे ऑगस्टाच्या 6 तारखेक केंद्र सरकारान रिएडजस्टमेंट ऑफ रिप्रेझेंटेशन ऑफ शेड्यूल्ड ट्रायब्स इन असेंब्ली कॉन्स्टिट्युएन्सीज ऑफ द स्टेट ऑफ गोवा एक्ट 2025 हे नोटिफाय केलें. हातून ST समाजाच्या लोकांक पॉलिटिकल रेजर्वेशन जावचें गोंयच्या विधानसभेंत म्हूण. पूण एडवोकेट राजाराव ग्रेशस सांगता हें BJP सरकाराचें जमलां म्हूण.
It looks like there may be no reservations at all during the next assembly election. One gets a feeling that this notification issued by the government is like so many other things, a jumla, because this notification ought to have come at least a year earlier to give enough time to the election commission, to the political parties, and to the voters to raise objections and to get the proper estimate of the tribal voters in each constituency done. Now elections in Goa have to be held before 14th of March. That is just around 6 months ahead. But much before that, the announcement has to be made which are the constituencies which are reserved. And that may take a lot of time. And with the Census of India work also starting, it may be not possible for the election commission to complete the task forced upon it by this notification. It is quite possible that the BJP does not really want the STs to get the reserved seat during the current election, because the BJP is having problems with its own MLAs. As we have seen, they are challenging the party itself on the process of reservation. So to avoid any unnecessary disputes within the party, I would expect the BJP to somehow prevail on the Election Commission of India, which, as we know, is practically acting as surrogates of the BJP to delay the process of reservation so that it is finally called off before the next election. Such a scenario is to be expected. I have a feeling that the BJP has brought up this notification because there was massive agitation by the scheduled tribes, who are on a big scale supporters of the BJP. And the BJP feared that they may desert the party. Therefore, they have brought this notification. Now they will tell the scheduled tribe people, look here, we brought in the notification. It is the election commission to be blamed. And the tribal people, being gullible, are quite likely to fall for it. So in reality, there may be no reservations at all before the election. But of course, on the other hand, it is possible that there will be reservation, because the election commission need not always listen to the BJP. So in case reservations are done, again it would be based on an estimate. And I would think that if someone does challenge the entire notification, the notification itself could be set aside for various grounds. That also is an option for the BJP, as they did in the case of the Ponda by-election. So a legal option could also come as a hurdle for reservation. And in case the BJP is seriously thinking of having reservations, then reservation should come without much issue. And as of now, from whatever information we have, constituencies of Sangye, Priol, Kepe and Kanakona, these are the 4 constituencies which have a higher proportion of scheduled tribes. But the BJP apparently wants to see that a constituency from Salset, where the tribals are mostly Catholics, also comes within the framework. In which case, it may be Nuve or Kurtori or Veli. Most likely Nuve or Kurtori. So that being the case, everybody is watching now. I only hope that these reservations, if it does come, or if it does not come, should be announced soon enough so that the candidates and the voters get sufficient notice of the type of representative they can elect. The problem is, as far as the opposition is concerned, for that matter, as far as BJP is concerned, no one can oppose this reservation because it will backfire. Now, opposition is too busy right now setting its own house in order, and they are least bothered about what's happening to the tribal people. As we can see, all the opposition parties are somehow or the other refusing to come together. And that itself may be a big blow to the opposition attempt to knock off the BJP government. And the BJP may laugh all the way to the voting machines, because it does appear that other political parties are not too keen on gathering together their forces and knocking the BJP out. Hopefully, better sense will prevail, and at some point of time, all the opposition forces would come together and give a straight fight to the BJP.
खबर कारापूर गांवांतसान. कारापूर गावात येता तो हाऊस ऑफ अभिनंदन लोधा वन ग्लोबल गोवा या मेगा हाऊसिंग प्रोजेक्ट हाचे बाबतीत गांवच्या लोकांचो विरोध सुमार 130 दीस मायज जावन गेले. गेल्ल्या सुमारांत कारापूर गांवचो लोक तसोच सामान्य गोंयकार पणजेच्या आझाद मैदानार जमले अनेक पावट हो प्रोजेक्ट हाचो विरोध करपाक आनी दाखोवन दिवपाक गोंयच्या बीजेपी सरकाराक की हो प्रोजेक्ट जाता तितलो बेगीन रद्द करचो म्हूण.
हांव तुमकां व्हेरी क्लियर सांगता आनी जितले ऑपोजिशन पॉलिटिकल पार्टी आमकां येवन साथीदार दिले तांकां सगळ्यांक हांव देव बरें करूं म्हणटा. तुमी अलायन्साचे स्टँड दाखयलो त्याच्या उपरांत हांव आनी एक मागणी करता. हांव मागणी ही करता 31 तारखेक आमचो असेंब्ली आसा आनी ह्या लोकांक हांव विचारूंक सोदता आमी 1.5 लाख तुमची सॅलरी आशिल्ली पळय ती दिगंबर कामतीन ऍप्लिकेशन घालून 3 लाख केली. कित्याक लागून म्हारगाय वाडली म्हणून. जाल्यार एक गजाल सांगता तुमकां तुमच्यो फक्त 4 असेंब्ली आसा सेशन फक्त 4 असेंब्ली सेशनाक लागून तुमकां 3 लाख दिता वर्साकसून. जाल्यार 3 दीस आमकां फावो आसा बरोबर. 3 दीस फावो आहा काय आमकां 30 दिसांची असेंब्ली जाली जाय. जरी तर लक्षात घ्या जरी तर 3 दिसाची असेंब्ली तर काबार करपाचो प्रयत्न करीत कित्याक लोढा आनी बाकीचे विशय सॉर्ट आउट जावचे ना जाल्यार आमी ज्या भाशेन जंतर मंतराचेर लोक पावता ज्या भाशेन पीएम हाऊसाचे कडेन लोक पावता ज्या भाशेन आयज असेंब्ली झारखंड असेंब्ली कडेन लोक पावता त्याच भाशेन आमी पूर्ण गोंयकार जे आहा पळय गोवा असेंब्लीचेर वच पावपाक शकतले.
आमच्या गावाक आमची गरज आसा. आता हो गांव खंयचो ते आपल्या आपल्या पर्स्पेक्टिवान तुमकां दर एक गांव गोंयचो उलो मारतलो. आता हांगा जमल्या कारापुरा खातीर पूण जरी तर आमी गोंयच्या दर एक गांवांक पळयले जाल्यार दर एक गांव म्हणटा की यो गोंयकारा आनी म्हाका वाचय. गोवा इज क्राय. लोकांक आपले घर आपली जी जमीन आसा ते आपलो हक मागपा खातीर 130 दीस प्रोटेस्ट करची पडटा. लस दिसनात आमकां हे सगळे पळोवन. आता आमी हांगा जमल्यात आमचे जे लोक आसा कारापूरचे आनी दर एक गांवचे गोंयचे जे लोक आसा ते म्हणटा आमकां 39A नाका. गोंय आमचे सिलेक्टेड रिप्रेझेंटेटिव्हसाचे न्ही आमचे सगळ्यांचे गोंय. आमी तुमकां निवडून हाडटा तुमी आमचे आयकचे पडटले हे सांगपा खातीर. आनी 130 डेज आनी कितले दीस रावचे पडटले आमकां आमच्या गांवा खातीर. आता आमी हांगा जमल्यात आमचे जे लोक आसा कारापूरचे आनी दर एक गांवचे गोंयचे जे लोक आसा ते म्हणटा आमकां 39A नाका. गोंय आमचे सिलेक्टेड रिप्रेझेंटेटिव्हसाचे न्ही आमचे सगळ्यांचे गोंय. आमी तुमकां निवडून हाडटा तुमी आमचे आयकचे पडटले हे सांगपा खातीर. आनी 130 डेज आनी कितले दीस रावचे पडटले आमकां आमच्या गांवा खातीर.
खबर वेलसांव गांवांतसून. गेल्ल्या सुमारांत रेल विकास निगम लिमिटेड अनेक पावट हांगा डबल ट्रॅकिंग हाचे कामाची सुरवात केली आनी गांवच्या लोकांचो बोबाब. गोंयचो एकवट हाचे कार्यकर्ता आनी गोवा फॉरवर्ड हाचो मुखेली विजय सरदेसाय हांगा पावलो आनी गांवच्या लोकांक तेंको दिलो आनी काम सद्याक तरी बंद दवरलां. गांवच्या लोकां प्रमाणे रेल विकास निगम लिमिटेड तांच्या बाटांतल्यान रेल्वे ट्रॅक्स घालूंक काम सुरू केल्लें.
आमची राईट ऑफ वे मोटरेबल वे तेणी ब्लॉक केले मटेरियल गायले आणि आमचे एसएस तेणी ब्लॉक केलो. and this SS we have been enjoying. We are in occupation and we have been occupation before the railways. The railways came in the 18th century, but the houses are before the railways in the 18th century built up. And the people who helped us Goincho Ekot, Amit Patkar, Vijay Sardesai and many activities.
हांव म्हाका जात तें हांव करूं म्हूण भायर सरलोली कित्याक आमकां मिसा वयता जाल्यार दोतोर वयता जाल्यार चलोन वाट ना. आमी सांगलें आमकां वाट दिया हे साणें दादागिरी कोण पुलीसीन आमकां लोकोवपा लागले आयकनासलोले. म्हूण सगळे हेंगे आदार घेवन एश कोन्न जावं ना. ओ सादेसाय अमित पाटेकार आनी तूं वय गोंयचो एकवट हे सगळे फादर बादर सगळे अनाउन्समेंट दिन जायते गोंयकार येयले आनी काल हे मांडे आमकां तुमकां तेमको मेळ्ळो आमकां आदार मेळ्ळो. आमकां कॅरकून आसलोले ते आमकां लोकन घाताले आमकां जायते आडायताली तांकां पुणे पुलिसेन आमकां लोकन पयल्या उडयताले तुमचो आदरान हें मातशें पुणे वचोन आमी स्टेप गेलो आनी कितें जाता तें चोया.
आणि आता वयचे पयलीं आनी एक खास खबर. आमचो इश्ट goanews.com हाचो एडिटर बाब संदेश प्रभुदेसाय ऑगस्टाच्या 15 तारखेक आपलें नवें पुस्तक 64 Days of 18 June 1946 हो रिलीज करता. हाचे पयलीं बाब संदेश प्रभुदेसाय हाणें अजीब गोवाज गजब पॉलिटिक्स गोवाज इलेक्शन अ पर्स्पेक्टिव्ह हो पुस्तक रिलीज केल्लो. आपल्या नव्या पुस्तका बाबतींत बाब संदेश आमकां सांगता.
नमस्कार. 15 ऑगस्ट 2026 ह्या दिसाक ह्याच सोमनाक म्हजें नवें पुस्तक येता इंग्लीश 64 Days of 18 June 1946. आफ्टर न्ही ऑफ कित्या खातीर म्हणलां तेंय ह्या पुस्तका भितर सांगलां. आनी महत्वाचें म्हणजे 18 जुनाक डॉक्टर राम मनोहर लोहिया 1946 मडगांव आयलो. ताणें भाशणबंदी मोडली आनी तातूंतल्यान गोंयच्या स्वातंत्र्य संग्रामाची नव्यान सुरवात जाली. लास्ट फेज इतली पर्यंत आमकां खबर आसा. पूण बऱ्योचश्यो गजाली खबर नात ज्यो ह्या पुस्तका भितर जवळ जवळ 300 पानांचें पुस्तक आसा. रिसर्च बेज आसा पुस्तक. त्या पुस्तका भितर 64 दीस 18 जुनाच्या नंतर वा 18 जून धरून 64 दीस गोंयभर स्पॉन्टेनियस प्रोटेस्ट जाताले लोकांचे. स्पॉन्टेनियस विदाउट एनी लिडरशीप विदाउट एनी सेंट्रल ऑर्गनायझेशन लोक आपूण जावन रस्त्यार देंवताले. आनी ताज्याकय चड इंटरेस्टिंग ते म्हणजे हातूंतले मॅक्झिमम प्रोटेस्ट जे आसात ते ओल्ड कॉन्क्वेस्टान जाल्यात. चडांत चड प्रोटेस्ट जे आसात ते साश्टीच्या गांवांनी जाल्यात, बार्देजां भितर जाल्यात, तिसवाडी भितर जाल्यात आनी मुर्मुगांवां भितर जाल्यात. आनी हातूंत भितर खूब जाणांचें एक इम्प्रेशन आसा की स्वातंत्र्य संग्राम जो आशिल्लो तातूंत हिंदूच चड आशिल्ले आनी क्रिस्तांव कमी आशिल्ले. उलट हे 64 दीस आसात त्या 64 दिसां भितर रस्त्यार देंविल्लो हजारांनी लोक रस्त्यार देंविल्लो भिनासतना पसून तो क्रिस्तांव लोक चड देंविल्लो. इतलेंच कित्याक मुंबय पसून जवळ जवळ ह्या लोकांनी 5,000 गोंयकारांनी प्रोसेशन काडिल्लें. ह्यो सगळ्यो गजाली हातूंत भितर डॉक्युमेंट केल्ल्यो आसात. इतलेंच न्हय तर ह्या 64 दिसां भितर जें कितें जालें तें जर तितल्याच नेटान जर मुखार गेल्लें जाल्यार गोंय भारताच्या पयलींच स्वतंत्र जाता आशिल्लें काय कितें अशे तरेचो एक प्रश्न आसा. ज्या प्रश्नाची जापूय बी हातूंत भितर आसा. आनी ताज्याकय चड इंटरेस्टिंग म्हणजे बाकीच्यो गजाली आसातच. हातूंत भितर जे रस्त्यार देंविल्ले ते जशे आज जेन झी आमी म्हणटात जे बिटवीन दी एज ग्रुप ऑफ 18 to 23 अशे तरेचो काय 14 to 29 काय कितें आसा तो आसा. तशे तरेचो सगळो तरणाटो तेन्नाचो जेन्नाच्या त्या तरणाट्याक भितर 14 वर्सां धरून 30 वर्सां पर्यंतचो जो तरणाटो आसा तोच चड रस्त्यार देंविल्लो आनी तांणी आंदोलन सुरू केल्लें. आज जेनझी करता अशेंच न्ही तेन्नाय बी त्यो सगळ्यो गजाली ह्या पुस्तकां भितर वाचपाक मेळटल्यो. हें पुस्तक amazon.in ऑलरेडी आसा. प्री बुकिंग स्टार्ट जाल्लें आसा. त्या शिवाय थंय पुस्तकां मेळटलींच. गोंयच्या बूक स्टॉलांचेर बी पुस्तकां सगळ्याक मेळटलीं. तुमी हें पुस्तक मुद्दम वाचचें म्हणून मागता हांव इतल्या खातीर की हांवें बरयलां आनी म्हजें पुस्तक खपचें म्हणून न्ही ताजे खातीर बरयलें ना. पूण एक ज्यो चळवळी गोंया भितर जायत आसात 20-20 वर्सांनी जातात त्यो चळवळींतल्यान मुखार ती चळवळ पॉलिटिकल एक स्वरूप घेना कित्याक तातूंतल्यान एक चेंज येना कित्याक आनी खंय कितें चुकता तें ह्या पुस्तकांत ज्यो चुको जाल्यो ह्या पुस्तकां भितर बरयल्ले आसात. ज्यो चुको जाल्यो लिडर्सांच्यो एक्टिविस्टांच्यो ऑर्गनायझेशनाच्यो त्यो परत जर जाली ना जाल्यार खुबशें कितें जावपाक शकता. आनी तें करपा खातीर हिस्ट्री इज नॉट meant only for the past but it is meant for the present and the future. There are a lot of lessons which we can learn from the history. ती तुम्ही शिकपाक मेळची आमकां म्हणून हें पुस्तक बरयलां. तें तुमी वाचचें अशें म्हणून मागता. जय गोंय.
देव बरें करूं तुका बाब संदेश प्रभुदेसाय. तुवें आमकां तुजो मोलादीक वेळ दिलो म्हूण आमी आशेन रावतात हो तुजो नवो पुस्तक वाचपाक. तर ह्यो जाल्यार आमच्यो सुसेगाद दनपार गोंयच्यो खबरो मेलबर्न ऑस्ट्रेलियासून मेळ्ळी दुसऱ्या सोमानात ते मेरेन मोग आसूं दी.